Oh yeah, Jamar, how are you?
Yeah, man, I'm great. How are you guys?
We're good.
Awesome.
Good. We're better now that you're here, man.
Well, I have that effect on people. Thank you very much.
Oddly enough, so do we.
So this is another in our continuing series of who knows how many more of these we'll do. But this is going up on our Patreon, and we're reaching out to creators. So we really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
Hey,
Even
anything
though,
for you.
even though we know that you've officially gone on record saying that you dislike both of us, we still invited you here.
Hey, man, it is what it is. We don't have any creator beefs, so we got to just start our own, right?
Well, I mean, I thought it was really magnanimous of us to let you on the show after you were so harsh in your battle rap.
Well, in the octagon, all bets are off.
Yeah.
That's right.
The Raptagon.
So we have Jamar Nicholas with us today of Leon, Protector of the Playground fame and other things. We'll let you talk about those things. We'll let you talk about those things. But we don't get real serious here. We'll talk some comics, but then we talk a whole bunch of silly stuff. So whatever comes to mind, just feel free to answer or not. It's up to you, sir.
Oh, thank you.
And you're welcome to ask us questions too. We may or may not answer.
No, thank you. This is strictly about me, so you'll have to deal. No,
you can ask us questions about you. So,
what do you tell me more about my eyes?
Okay, for all of you watching, here's a Jamar Nicholas fact for you. So some hashtag trivia.
Yes.
He's deathly afraid of tomatoes. Tomatoes, like the movie Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, terrifies him. He likes to do commissions at conventions. You should ask him to draw tomatoes.
Oh yeah, I have a lot of red markers just for that. So I draw the tomato commissions that shows to get over my fear. So it's like a compensation type of thing.
Yeah,
very, very Freudian. Yeah.
All right, so let's get into the swing of things here. So I learned something. I learned something very important from you.
What's that, Franco?
It is simply wit. I learned wit from you, and explain to those pedestrians out there that don't know what wit is, because I had to learn from you, the master.
Well, so I am from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. As a lot of you know, is the home of the cheesesteak sandwich. So anybody that comes from out of state or claims there's a cheesesteak spot in your town and it's not Philly, I will immediately dunk on it because I don't believe it. It's not authentic. So these gentlemen were in town for a show, and I said, "Hey, listen, you guys can't leave town without us going to get you a cheesesteak, like legit, South Philly. Go up to the window, get yelled at cheesesteak."
And me being me, said, "Oh, there's one right across the street," and you yelled at me. You dressed me down.
Well, and I apologize later. I was a little hard.
No, don't apologize, because it was well worth it. I was wrong. I will go on record to say I was wrong. You were right. So.
Well, some of the traditional ways of ordering like a South Philly steak is that you have to kind of break things down into components so you can quickly get your sandwich and get out of the line. So you want to say, depending on what kind of sandwich it is, let's just say you're just going to get a cheesesteak with cheese whiz and with or without fried onions. So you would get a steak whiz wit.
Yeah.
And if you don't want onions, it's a steak whiz without.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they just type that in and you keep it moving. So anytime you get to the line and you're like, they go next, and they'll legit like slide you right out of the line. So I
was very nervous about this whole process.
I wanted you to be nervous.
We took an Uber and we drove about an hour outside of the city. Right? It was in the city, but apparently the Uber took us outside of the city and then back into the city.
Yeah,
so that's why it took an hour.
Yeah, I think they jacked up your charge. Yeah,
But then we get on this line, and it took a good 20 minutes or so to get to the line, through the line, and I was practicing the entire time.
I remember.
I'm like, Jamar, this is wit, right, Jamar? And you're like, no, you got to say it like, wit, like, yeah.
You gotta put it. Yeah, you gotta put a stamp on it. Yeah.
So to my endless amusement, the people online were like looking at me like, "Oh, this guy's from out of town." So so it was quite a lot of fun.
Yeah. What did you guys think of the food? That's the next thing. Yeah,
it was good.
Yeah.
We sat there.
And
we
for
had
the
to get a
record,
table.
not all of us needed to practice. Some of us had to sit down.
We sat. We actually got a table within the place, and we sat. And you looked at me, and you're like, Franco, and I'm like,
yeah.
That's all that needed to be said.
Yeah, no, that's good. And I think Philly gets a bad rap for stuff, but we're very hospitable. And when we have people that come to town, we want them to have a good experience, even if you're in the middle of like a 4x4 motorcycle drag race in the middle of Broad Street. We want you to know, hey, you might get shot, but you had a good time, and that's the most important thing.
Well, thanks for the hospitality, and thanks for coming on the show. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.
All right, goodbye.
Yeah.
Good night.
I'm really pleased that I didn't get shot. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Well, hey, that is a worry. You know what I mean? Like, and then also I know that people are quite afraid of my town, where it's not the most. I mean, it's a very prominent tourist city, but yet we hate tourists. So like if you're in like a touristy part of the area, like where the Liberty Bell is, or around Old City where there's cobblestones and Betsy Ross's house, we hate you, and you should leave. You should leave very, very fast. But we're not going to attack you anymore. So the that's good for the tourism.
Awesome.
Did I set a bad precedent? You're never coming back?
No, never.
Well, you need an escort. I think that's the best thing. And in any town, if I came to visit you guys know where all the spots are. So rather than me having some map and just kind of figuring it out on myself, I love getting escorted through a new place with people who live there, because you're like, oh, you go around this corner and through the window, and that's where the best sandwiches are. You would never know that any other way.
I don't know if we know where all the spots are in New York City. We usually ask Greg.
I was gonna say, now he's gonna expect us to take us around the city, and I'm not gonna know where.
Well, you guys don't hang out. You guys won't hang out with me. I have to hang out with you.
Oh, okay.
So
let's never invite him over then.
Yeah,
Well,
that'll be.
He already did Free Comic Day at our store once. Do we have to have him back a second time?
No. I think you guys created a pandemic just to keep me from coming back to the store.
Man, that is a long way around the barn.
Hey, man, you know what? You guys play the long game. I understand.
So, what are some things you're working on now?
So, I'm glad you asked, Franco.
Oh, yeah.
So my biggest thing on my table right now is I've been working on the next Leon book. And I just turned in a manuscript to my agent. So I'm in the middle of a query campaign with some publishers in New York. So
for Leon or for different projects?
For Leon.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. And go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, so for our viewers out there who may not be familiar, can you tell them a little bit about what Leon is?
Sure. Thanks, Mark. Leon Protector of the Playground is a story of a 6th grade superhero whose power is common sense.
Oh, you don't get a lot of heroes with that.
No, it's very rare. I came out with the first book, I think it was 2017. We had a Kickstarter with my comic book diner pals, John Gallagher and Rich Faber. We all put out a graphic novel for this campaign. And then after the campaign was over and everybody got their books, I ran out of the burning building with more books and got it into the world. So since then, it got a lot of really good press recognition. I won a couple of awards for it. And I just really want to have more representation in kid lit and, middle grade graphic novels. You don't see a lot of persons of color who are the main characters in books like that. So Leon means a lot more to me than just, another kid superhero book. So with the formation of this next book, I'm trying to get a book deal. So that's where I am. right now.
Well, best of luck with that. Do we need to send a memo to someone or maybe some intimidation?
Oh yeah,
Franco will kick someone in the shins. He does not care.
No, I would say that come to comics.com or anything, because we will sell you copies of Leon. But do we even have any? Or are you sold out? Because I'm not even sure we have any at the store. That would be
I don't
marketing
think we have any
department.
right now. Actually, Jamar and I talked not too long ago. I need to get some from you.
Yeah,
I need to restock. We usually do carry it. So
yeah, I think I'm sold out here in the studio. Like I don't have any stuff. I have to order more books. So
that's good and bad.
you know what? I think that's why we haven't restocked, because when you and I spoke, you didn't have any.
Oh yeah, I think I ran back out again. That's like Franco said, it's a good problem. I rarely have books laying around because I get them in, they go back out, and then they sold out, and so
let us know when you get them back in stock, and we will get them back in stock.
Oh yeah, let's work on that. I appreciate that.
Nice.
They're free, right? We don't have to pay for them because we have
just for you, Mark.
We're trading advertising right now. Isn't that what artists do?
Yeah, that's exactly how this works.
No.
Well, just for you, you can charge your customers, but maybe I'll just give them to you, and you can do what you want with them.
So right now,
we'll be happy to pay for books.
Oh, nice.
So right now, am I to take it that you're sitting in your studio? Is that where you are?
Yeah, this is my studio. I could clean it a little bit, but
don't worry about it.
But yeah, I'm in my studio right now, and this has turned into kind of like a podcast hub too, like a nerve center ever since the lockdown order was in place.
Cool. I love seeing artists in their studio, because that's one of the things that this is doing for us when we interact this way with others. We get to see what's in there. I'm up against the wall and I just have a banner, but my studio's out this way and in front of me. Mm-hmm. But I sit in the corner so I can see everything. But one of the things I always look forward to whenever I visit an artist studio is there's one thing in the studio that's weird or doesn't belong there. So pick out the one weird thing or the thing that doesn't belong in your studio and tell us about it.
I'm looking right at it. Give me 1 second. And you guys play into this too, so hold on a second.
Uh-oh. It's our fault. That's what he's setting it up for.
It's totally your fault. So a couple of years ago, you fine gentleman helped me appear at Playfair at the Javits Center. You remember that?
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just from
a weird show, but fun.
Yeah, it was.
That was the first time we met, Jamar.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah,
was it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right. It was.
Yeah.
I think we had talked a lot, and then I think you had to come get me because I needed a badge, and I didn't even know who I was looking for.
Yeah.
Because this is the funniest thing. From Art and Franco's Comics Forever, there was always this cartoon of you in the back of the books. And I was like, who is this cat? Because I've never seen him before. Like, I thought they made you up. And then, like, you showed up. It was like, what's up, Mark? I was like, oh, it's Brother Bear. And we had, like, a great hug. And that was the beginning of a wonderful friendship. But so at Toy Fair? Did I say Playfair? Playfair, yes. Yeah. So at Playfair, this convention was just for kids. And there was lots of kids' activities and blah, blah, blah going on. And they had a Guinness World Records. I
remember this. Yeah.
I guess it's not a contest. They were trying to win a Guinness World Record of having the biggest slime ever.
Yeah, the most slime or the biggest slime pit or whatever it was.
Yeah, like that's the biggest volume of slime. So they had like almost like a full size, well, not a full size, but like a couple of like in above ground pools filled with slime. And I remember there was like a lady in there with her pants rolled up with an oar, just like mixing this stuff up.
Like I Love Lucy with the grapes type thing.
Yeah, her and Ethel were like stomping on the slime. And then some guy showed up with like a top hat and like gave them a ribbon or something, and he left. And then they started scooping up the slime. So I have in my studio. They gave me like a to-go container of slime.
That's awesome. If you open it, it smells like that lady's feet.
I'll do that off camera.
Now, if you yell at it, does it grow like Ghostbusters 2?
Yeah, we only have positive energy in the studio.
Have you been sleeping with the slime like Ray does?
Again, we'll talk off camera.
I remember that was like, yeah, you were right. They had big swimming pools full of slime, and I don't think they gave all of it away, but they gave a lot of it away to everyone.
Yeah, they gave a lot. I don't know what they did with the other. I mean, they probably just flushed it down the toilet in the bathroom.
Oh, that's going to cause problems.
Yeah. And here we are in the pandemic.
Yeah, they flushed it down the sewer, and some turtles walked through it, and the rest is history.
Right? That's exactly how this happens. Life imitates art.
This is why we can't have nice things.
But yeah, that's one of the weirder things in my studio. I think was that a good one?
That was a good one. Yeah,
that was a good one.
All right, appreciate that.
So, all right, what's your favorite pandemic snack? Like you're not leaving the house, you're working, you're podcasting.
Yeah,
you got to have something. What's your go-to?
So I found out right before all this stuff happened. I have a day job and I work at a university right outside of Philly. And my department chair would bring in these little boxes of Good Thins snack squares. They're kind of like in the Triscuit family. Right. Okay, so it's almost kind of like a corn crisp. It's like tiny. And what made it popular in the office is that they're gluten free, and also you can eat 42 of them, and it's 120 calories.
Wow, 42. Would everybody ration them out? These are my 42. These are your 38.
So wait a minute. One serving of these crackers is 42. So one serving of these crackers is the meaning of life.
See, yeah, man, that's deep, Mark. Yeah, you're on something. So I got really into Good Thins. I'm sick of them now. But right before all this stuff happened, they were like, the best way to get these is you just order a case of them off Amazon. I was like, that seems real excessive.
yeah, but like there's 42 in a case and there's 42 servings in each package. So roughly, you got like in a week you'd go through it if my math is correct.
Well, there was a little. I mean, it wasn't exactly 42 crisps in the box, but you could probably get like 2 or 3 servings out of it. So you just bought a case, and it was cheap. Like case of 12 was $16.
Wow!
So you just get the box.
I would be afraid to eat those. I think.
Why? Because
$16. I don't know.
Well, needless to say, I just finished the last little box of them yesterday. So I got those in February.
So I'm afraid to go anywhere else after that, but
they're tasty. You'd enjoy them. And I'm trying to watch my figure and just watch what I'm eating.
That's not working for me during this pandemic. I'm just eating everything and just sitting there. Which brings up my next question. How many hours a day are you spending on pages or artwork and things like that? Do you find yourself more or less after this whole thing started?
I want to say it's about the same. I think I'm doing the same amount of hours at the table, but I've filled in all that time where I'd be procrastinating or staying up too late. I don't know if you guys do this, but I try instead of going to bed, I try to keep myself awake with doing crap, which is still not drawing, because I'm just trying to stay awake. So I've filled in all that time with doing these podcasts and videos, and I have this like sexy microphone and all of that.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think production.
You're doing because I'm jumping around. I apologize, but you're doing a podcast with Mike Manley, is it?
Yeah.
And Pencil to Pencil, it's called, I believe.
Yeah. So I have a couple things, but the first one is called Pencil to Pencil with myself, Mike Manley, and Brett Blevins too.
Oh wow!
I don't know if you guys ever met Brett.
No,
I don't think I have.
He doesn't
I'm a fan, but I haven't met.
He doesn't do a lot of East Coast shows, but so the genesis of this is that Mike is the editor-in-chief of Draw magazine, which has been around for almost 20 years. He just said that the other day, and it made my heart hurt.
Yeah.
But I've also
I think I still have my first issue around here somewhere.
Yeah, you should slab that.
I think it's too dog-eared to slap.
So yeah, like the magazine's been around for a long time, and I've been fortunate enough to be a reviewer in it and an interviewer, and just kind of looking at where the state of magazines are and a lot of printed matter and kind of where we are right now. We decided last year to start doing a podcast. So the beginning of this was a really crappily saved Skype calls.
Mm-hmm.
And now that we have StreamYard and things like this, things have gotten a lot cleaner, right? But I'm sure you've had a bad Skype interview where it sounded like you were in a tunnel talking through tin cans.
Yeah.
But somewhere in there, the StreamYard stuff happened, and we started doing these live videos. So since the pandemic, every Wednesday and Saturday at 8 p.m., Mike and I, and sometimes Brett, go live. So it's been a hoot, and we started doing live critiques now, Mark and Franco. So after our guest is done with, Mike will pull up his Cintiq and we'll rip apart somebody's artwork on camera. And I say that in a bad light. It's really very constructive. And one of the funny things about that is it seems like lately we haven't gotten a lot of submissions, and I think there's a little bit of a fear there. It's like, well, this is a really great resource to have, but who's going to bite the bullet and actually send in their work to have this comic pro
right.
tell you don't know your perspective, and there's tangents all over the place.
That's really helpful. It brings up two instances that I had with that sort of run-in with professionals. Years ago, I had sent in, I was trying to break into comics and whatever, and I had sent some sample pages to Jim Valentino from Image. And he, when I was doing this, I had sent out 50 of these things to different publishers, and he was one of the few that actually wrote back. Well, no, that's not true. I got a whole bunch of rejection letters, form letters, but he was one of the few that wrote back. And when I opened it up, it was my Xerox pages, but with red marker all over them and notes. And he was brutal. He was really brutal. And I caught up with him a few years ago at a convention.
And you punched him in the stomach.
And no, listen, it's funny. And I told him that I had sent him some stuff. I said, hey, a few years ago, I sent you some pages and you wrote back. And he went like this. He literally did this. He goes, what do you think? I'm going to punch you or something? He goes, how bad was it? And I said, it was pretty bad. He goes, I'm sorry about that. I'm like, no, that's what I wanted. And he was very happy to hear that. He goes, well, that's why I did that because, the only way I'm going to get better is if you tell me what I'm doing right and what I'm doing wrong. Another person like that was Jim Shooter. And I caught up with him at a convention, and he was leaving the table, and I kind of begged and pleaded, but I don't want to take your time away. Yeah. And he goes, I don't have a lot of time, but we went behind the booth, so he wouldn't be disturbed. And he ripped me a new one. He said, this is what you're doing wrong. This is, but he goes, I hate to be harsh, and I said, well, no, that's what I want. And that's kind of what you do want, but a lot of people have a fear of that, but I would say, face your fear, because that's the only way you're really going to learn how to get better.
And that's why you're still here, Franco.
Oh, thank you.
Right? No, I mean, if you think about just the way your brain was wired back then, it's like, well, this is what I'm here for. This is great. This is a great resource, and I'm going to take or not take whatever these crits and apply them. And just think about, Mike kind of calls it the soul. If I messed it up, it's kind of like the river of bad art. There's like lost souls that just wash away. And I think about the people who just never get up the nerve to zip up their portfolio and walk into the building and do that part. I mean, I think there's a lot of gut checks that happen to get you to your spot in the industry. So
yeah,
no, I agree.
realistically, Franco, he's still around because he's been riding my coattails the whole time. Have you seen my stick figures? They're magnificent. Come on, man. Nobody draws stick figures as poorly as I do.
Magnificent.
I always tell people that I taught Franco everything I knew about art, which was nothing, so he had to figure it out for himself.
But yeah, I mean, it's true. I still have them somewhere in my storage room, but I literally have a stack of rejection letters about Liz Big.
Yeah.
And I've since worked for almost every one of those companies in one form or another, and that's the best. And I don't want to say revenge, because they were doing what they needed to do at the time.
Right.
My stuff wasn't that good. I get it. I had to work on stuff, but being able to come back and work for almost every one of those companies in one form or another is like, yes, I did it, type thing. Yeah.
And I think one thing that's really interesting about our industry and just the community, if you want to call like the cartoonists and how we deal with each other a community, is that it's, kind of gauche to say like, oh, I made it, or look, here I am. And, you kind of have to be, everybody's trying to be the most humblest person in the room all the time, because that's just how we're.
I forgot.
I don't know. Art walks around calling himself world famous cartoonist all the time. I'm not sure he's worried about being humble.
Well,
that's just me, though.
I forgot who I was talking to, or if we were talking to somebody who put it this way: if you're in the industry right now and you're working in some form or another, if you don't think that you're some sort of imposter, even at this stage in your career, you're not really doing it right, or you don't have the right mentality. And I am so that person. I am waiting for DC or someone to call me and say, you're I don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're doing. I don't know why we hired you.
It was Louise Simonson, right? Wasn't Walter and Louise? Walter and Louise said that to us when we talked about it 2 weeks ago.
So go back and look at that. But it's absolutely true. When they were saying it, I believe it was Walter and Louise. When she was saying it, I'm like, I do. I really do think like I'm the imposter in the room, that someone's going to find out that I don't really know what I'm doing. But I think that's one of those marks of success, and success is relative, but within your brain, with what you're doing, you need that sort of acknowledgement that people are buying your stuff, and I'm humbled and grateful for it, but I don't know why they're doing it.
Right.
And the weird thing is that I mean, because I'm not an artist or a writer like you all are, but I'm a retailer, but it applies to what I do as well. Anytime people compliment the store, I nod and smile and I say thank you. And it is very humbling that people like our stores as much as they do. But I just see the things that we haven't restocked yet, or the events that we didn't, we haven't made happen. Took us 2 years longer to make them happen, or I look at another store and I'm like, I wish we could do that. So I don't. I smile and nod, but I'm not good at taking compliments. And so it's very much along the same lines. Like, I'm just waiting for somebody to realize that our store is terrible and they should never come back, which is not the truth at all. So.
And I think don't get me into my interview hat, because I'm going to start in a minute. But what I find really interesting about that is that we also, we can't take compliments, but then we magnify the complaints or the criticisms.
Right.
So if 500 people say, Franco, you're amazing, but that one guy wanders along and goes like, oh, Franco sucks. That's going to just like drill right into your head, and you're going to obsess about it.
I want to really preface this by saying I'm not a big Dr. Phil fan. Okay. I don't watch him, but I did watch him a few years ago. I was watching an episode and he said something that's always stuck with me. He goes, it takes 1,000 attaboys to make up for that one you suck type thing, and it's true. It takes 1,000 of those because we magnify that. We're artists, we're creative types. Even within the retail, I'm talking about creativity within you in what you do. You have that drive, and that's you focus in on that one. How do I fix that? What do I do to overcome that? It sucks to be this way.
But I guess it kind of makes us who we are, right?
Yeah.
And so no, that's and I talk about that a lot too. It's just like the specter of resistance is a huge thing. I talk about resistance a lot. There's this book by Stephen Pressfield, I believe his name is. It's called The War of Art, not the Art of War. And he talks about all of the things that hang you up from kind of unlocking your creativity, your creative bliss. And a lot of it is resistance. And resistance can be the form of a girlfriend who wants to know why you're wasting your time doing this stuff, you know, or you're losing your keys the morning of your big job interview, or, you know what I mean? All of those things are kind of put in front of you, but you're not helping the situation by allowing it to be in your headspace. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of like trying to get around that because everybody goes through it.
Wow. This got deep.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, let's lighten it up a little bit. Ask him some silly questions.
All right, next question. Ready?
I'm
Bacon?
a Pisces. Yes. Love bacon. But yeah, bacon's a very important thing. How do you guys feel about Scrapple? Going back to Philadelphia, have you had Scrapple yet?
I have actually.
I haven't.
Mark looks confused.
Yeah, I was as well. I was visiting with my wife. We were visiting her grandparents in Florida years ago, and he's from the Washington, Virginia area. There, so one morning he decided her grandfather decided to make breakfast, and he was going to make Scrapple. And I misunderstood. I'm like, is that like short term for scrambled eggs or whatever?
No.
My wife said, no, this is what Scrapple is. And please don't embarrass me if you don't like it. So he made it. It was pretty good. But yeah.
So
Scrapple,
what is it?
Yeah,
Franco, would you like to do it? Or
no, not at all, because I won't do it justice at all.
Okay. All right. So what's in a hot dog, Mark?
Well, if you watch the movie The Great Outdoors, it tells you that hot dogs are lips and assholes.
Okay.
Oh.
It goes right to
you're talking about.
He cuts right to the quick, doesn't he? So imagine Scrapple is everything else left over from a pig.
Yep.
So that's why they call it Scrapple. It's the scraps of a pig.
I gotcha.
And the way you're supposed to know it's done is when you burn it. It's a very weird southeastern, depending on where you are, southern delicacy. So it usually comes in a gray brick, right? And you cut it into slices. You slice it up, and you throw it in on a really hot pan with oil, and then you fry it till it's burnt, and then you serve it.
Yeah.
So it kind of breaks open almost like a hash. It's just like gooey, crunchy, salty, and it's really good, but don't think about it. You just eat it.
It sounds terrible.
Well, Franco, did you hate it?
I did very much. I did. But then again, also I'm not a big fan of grits either.
Grits are terrible.
I think it has to do with the texture.
Come on, man.
Yeah, it has to do with the texture.
Yeah.
This video's over.
I don't like oatmeal either. Grits or oatmeal.
That's a texture thing.
It's a texture thing. Yeah, I don't like it.
What about cream? What about no sir? What about cream of wheat?
Isn't that just grits or oatmeal?
Isn't that oatmeal that's runnier?
Yeah. It's like...
No, I think cream of wheat. Well,
See,
I don't.
He can't believe he's talking to us.
Oh, it's blowing my mind.
I'm starting to question it myself.
Now, I think cream of wheat is more of the porridge family.
See, I don't like porridge either.
Of hot breakfast, like farina, cream of wheat. They're kind of like mushy grains.
No, shut it down.
All right, but not oatmeal, Mark. You don't like oatmeal either.
No.
All right.
Oatmeal destroyed my village and stole my father's sword.
You killed my papa. Well, one thing I know about grits is usually people are on the fence because they had grits served to them the wrong way, right? And there's like they almost remember when the Civil War MCU meme was going around where Tony would say one thing and then Steve would say the other, and then it's like Civil War.
I thought you were asking us if we remembered the Civil War, and I'm like, neither one of us is quite that old. Jamar, how old do you think we are, man?
Out of body experience.
Yes. So the funny thing is, I remember when those memes were going around. Like Steve would say one thing and Tony said another.
Yeah.
And back when the comic store I worked for, instead of like a Facebook, we had a message board. And everybody had their signature and their images in the signature. And my image was Civil War. I'm with Lincoln, and it was a picture of Abraham Lincoln.
I love it. That's totally you too.
No, it was Abraham Lincoln. You two wasn't part of it.
That's so Bono. Well, so just to finish this grits thing. So usually people or they break into two camps of people who learn how to eat grits by putting salt and butter on it. So it's like a savory, right? Mm-hmm. And then other people use it as a sweet. So they put sugar in it. Yeah. And the thing is that that's what cream of wheat is for. Cream of wheat is to be sweetened. Grits are a savory. So anyway, I think, Franco, if you took another shot at it, you might like it. See, you got to come and have breakfast in Philly. I'll take care of you.
You know who likes grits? I'll tell you who likes grits. Mark Wade.
Wade likes
grits. Yeah. There's Mark Wade trivia for you. He likes grits.
Okay. But none of us should be eating too much of that stuff, especially cheesesteaks, because people always talk about, yo, Jamar, you eat a cheesesteak today? I'm like, that's there's other food here, right?
Well, it's like, because we're in New York, people are like, do you eat pizza constantly? And I'm like, no, man.
The answer is yes.
I mean, we do, but we don't want them to know that.
That's right. You can't.
There's no other perfect food than pizza. You can get all 4 food groups in one shot.
There are people on my Facebook friends that I like to mess with, like just 2 or 3 times a year I'll post, hey, just so New York style is better than Chicago style. And it's like lobbing a hand grenade in, because I know what's gonna happen. It's disturbing the murder hornets. It was a lot of fun.
You knew exactly what you were doing.
Oh yeah. You know what? I'm gonna do it as soon as we're done with this video. I'm gonna do it tonight.
Well, it's funny. Just on my Facebook wall, somebody made the cheesesteak wars happen all the time. It's like, here's the top 10 list of cheesesteak spots in Philadelphia. People have pitchforks and torches. They're like, no. So I like those kind of fights myself. Oh, I'm sorry, Franco. I didn't finish telling you about the other stuff that I'm doing.
Yeah, tell us.
Sorry.
I love how this
we don't want to. That ship has sailed. Don't tell us. We don't.
I love how this whole talk has devolved into food.
Hey, man, food is life, right? So we do this pencil to pencil podcast, and also I don't know if you guys ever see my coffee breaks I do on Facebook.
Yeah, I've talked to you during them a couple times.
Oh yeah, man! I love coffee break. So another thing I do, and this kind of started last year, is coffee break with JN. So what I do is I go live on Facebook, and there's a gimmick to it. I have a cup of coffee, and I'm gonna drink the coffee and run my mouth and take questions from the room. And when I'm out of coffee, I turn the video off, and then that's it. So it was funny because I've come into some of Art's breakfast talks, and he gave me some nice words because we're kind of doing the same thing. I love Art's outfits. I think that's hilarious. But yeah, so I do that, and then I have my last thing is I have this conversational podcast called "Thank You for Having Me" with Jamar Nicholas.
Nice.
So I interview other creatives, and it's usually kind of like people who are like off the beaten path. I haven't talked to any cartoonists. Well, maybe I talked to one, but I just had one where I interviewed this guy. His name is CJR. I don't know if you guys are into YouTube personalities, but he's a YouTuber and he's part of the retro video game man cave community. There's a bunch of video game channels where people just show off their video game collection. Like some of these people's basements look like Blockbuster videos. And it's a really heavy community. And he's one of those guys. He's a really cool dude. And he's like a fully formed adult. And that's why I'm friends with him. Because we all have our hobbies, right? And even being creatives and artists, and you have toys and figurines and all those things all over your house. There's always somebody that goes, well, why do you have all that stuff?
Right.
Like again, another thing, like when you come back off the road, you always have something under your arm, right? That you kind of like slide and put on the wall when nobody's looking, because you got to collect this stuff. But yeah, a lot of people just don't understand how that works in real life. I think they'd be happy if we just had a patch of grass in the backyard that we just sat in and stared out.
Well, that's how it started. Somebody started collecting grass and put it in front of their yard. So
nice. So I don't know. Do you guys do you like? I know we all collect stuff, but do either of you guys collect something very specific?
Not really. I like action figures and comics, but I gave up my collection when we started the store.
Yeah,
and I have a few that I held on to, but not really. I guess action figures, cool action figures, and mostly I guess Batgirl action figures. For some reason, I have more Batgirl action figures than anything else. I don't know why. But, yeah, and then I had to get this guy. So it's blue.
Oh, yeah, he's pretty thick, man. He's been lifted.
He's from the new Scoob movie, but I heard the Scoob movie was terrible. So
it'll be good in our hearts, though.
Yeah.
Mark, what about you? Do you collect anything very specific?
Most of my stuff went to the stores too, and I a lot of my friends, particularly from Florida, before I moved, they joke that I'm the anti-clutter.
You're a minimalist.
I am. You know what it is? In like a 2-year span, I moved 10 times, and I just got tired of lugging everything. I will say that the few collectibles that I have, I think I have 3 single comic issues. Like I've written comics that I don't own copies of. I have one shelf that's maybe this wide with some artist editions and some absolute books. Any collectible that I have in my apartment is Haunted Mansion from Walt Disney World.
I see that
poster behind me.
Yeah, so you're on brand.
I've got some of the pop vinyls up there, and I've got most of that stuff I gave away too. But I have I don't give away anything somebody's given me.
Yeah.
So I have some things that were like gifts. So.
So you don't give them away; you sell them. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know. I would never do
that. I'm joking. Yeah, I don't. I might collect. I don't really collect things anymore, but I have things that I really enjoy. Like I enjoy Astro Boy, and the Thunderbirds, and
Thunderbirds are go.
FAB. I'm very weird.
I worked with a guy in Florida. He's still one of my best friends. His name is Todd. He's a huge toy guy. And anytime we were having a good day, I would say, "Yo, Joe, Todd," and his response was always FAB.
FAB.
And I know that's 2 different things, but
no, it's all good.
FAB.
Franco, are you sick of me yet?
No, not yet. I was going to say we.
He said not yet. I'm getting there.
We're getting there though.
So what do you and if you have to go at any point, let us know. But
no, I'm good.
What are your influences artistically?
That's a good one.
Talk to us about that.
So one of my worst kept secrets is that I didn't grow up a comic book fan. I fell in love with comic books later. I grew up loving the comic strips. I was a newspaper kid. So I was really influenced by things that were way above my age range. Like the first comic strip I loved was Doonesbury.
Nice.
By Gary Trudeau. And
I didn't know. Were you just a reader, or did you clip them out of the newspaper and collect them and type things?
Well, you know what? I just read them, but around that time, you could start. Well, not to say I invented that because I didn't, but you could go to Walden Books. Remember Walden Books?
Yeah.
B. Dalton. Remember those places? And get collections from the humor shelf.
Yeah, I never had those. I would actually cut them out of and I would get a spiral notebook and tape each day's. And some I would miss because I would get newspapers from, my family worked in restaurants, and someone would leave a newspaper, and invariably every day somebody would leave a newspaper, or someone would buy one or whatever. But I would always cut them out and put them in a spiral notebook.
Oh wow, that's really cool, man. No, I never thought about anything like that. But I wish I did now. That would be fun to look back on. Yeah, so like Doonesbury, Andy Cap. I was a big fan of Andy Cap. Like some of the things that you cartoonists feel like you just have to say because you can't not, like, oh, everybody loves Peanuts, because how could you not? But I wasn't attracted to that. I always thought it was a little, this sounds really pompous, I always thought it was a little problematic that these kids had adult voices. And as a
Right.
kid reading it, I was like, kids don't talk like that. Like I was fighting it in
Right.
my own little head. But then I like Doonesbury. I didn't know anything about the Iran Contra scandal, you know, or the Cuban Missile Crisis. But I liked the way Trudeau drew his character's eyes with those weird eyebrows. So in Bloom County, I was a big Burke Breathitt fan.
Yeah, love Bloom County.
And then, you know, Calvin and Hobbes was like the last thing I was really into.
A little known fact, trivia about me: I was on a softball team in college, and we were Death Tongue. That was our softball team name. So if you're a Bloom County fan, you know what that is.
Ack. Love Bill the Cat. Yeah, man, I was all in it. So a lot of my cartooning influences come from strips. I think a lot of my timing comes from that. And formatting wise, I think is where comics come in, because I was always hamstringed trying to do stories in 4 panels. And then I found out, hey, you could do 22 pages of this stuff. I was like, that sounds like something I could get down with. So also another one of my big influences is, I don't know if you've ever heard of this comic. It's called Brother Man. Have you ever heard of that? No. Okay. Brother Man was this comic book. This is like in like maybe 1990, right around like the beginning of the next indie boom or self-publishing boom. Remember Ben Edlund's Tick was like an oversized kind of like newsprint book when they were coming out. So this book was kind of like formatted the same way. It was by these 2 guys, the Sims brothers, who were from Philly, who were drawing these. It almost felt like Mad Magazine met the Hood, right? This very kind of like urban feeling, super kinetic, personal comic storytelling. I'd never seen anything like it before. But what also appealed to me is that everybody in these books were black, and they looked like real black people that I had seen like walking down the street. So it's almost like this guy put his finger on the pulse of like how real people act or react or walk, and they weren't like comic book tropes, like the guy with a high top fade and a dollar sign medallion robbing somebody in an alley, like in every Marvel comic you've ever seen. So like just what those guys were doing really unlocked my thought process about self-publishing, because I finally saw something that didn't look like Jim Lee did it, or some clone of Jim Lee was trying to do it. It was a whole different way of looking at the art form.
Cool. Nice. All right, so this next question is, we've been doing a few of these, and this has become my favorite question. You ready?
I'm ready, Franco. Yes.
In the next couple of minutes, I need you to teach us something we don't know.
Other than what you just taught us, which we didn't know.
Oh. But it could be anything. It doesn't have to be about comic books. Teach us something we didn't know. We had a history lesson in one. We had the origins of price tags in another, which fascinates me. So yeah, teach us something we don't know.
Okay, so I'm going to talk to you guys about urban fashion. Okay, you guys are both white, from what I can tell, or white adjacent.
Yes.
So one thing you guys may not know is about how a lot of black people approach fashion, or just street fashion. If you, maybe when you guys were in high school or whatever, and everybody, like Mark, I know you're from Florida, like people wore certain regional baseball caps in your school, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody wore like the Marlins or whatever. if you knew a black kid at your school, he was probably wearing a baseball cap that had nothing to do with any of those teams. Like it might be a Detroit Tigers cap. But
Raiders.
what you
it was the Los Angeles Raiders.
Okay, well, we can talk about that in a second. I want to make sure I get under the wire here. So a lot of black kids, especially when I was growing up, did not have compunction to wear their favorite ball team's hat. You wore a baseball cap because it was probably the first letter of your name. So if you like that kid with the Tigers cap on, his name was probably Daryl or Darnell or David, and it was a D on it. So some things don't apply, like the Yankees. The Yankees is a classic. Yeah. The Yankees logo was so profound. It's so well known. Right. People, it represents New York. It doesn't represent the ball team anymore, right?
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. So, things have changed over the time, but I remember getting into arguments with people. It's like, you like the Expos? I'm like, no, I just think it's a cool hat. I like the ELB on there. It has nothing to do. I don't even like baseball, but it's all about kind of like, matching your hookup. It's all got to like lay right. So that also goes into this more of a Philly thing of matching, right? I may have talked to you about this once, Franco, when we were like walking around in a Walmart. And I think we did. I remember some black kid walked by. I was like, yo, check him out. And like, I gave him a nod and he gave me a nod and kept walking. I was like, look, his sneakers match his shirt and his pants match his hat. That was all planned. It's very rare that you see a young kid who's not planning exactly what he's going to put on before he leaves the house, because it's all a statement, So that may be something you don't know. The Raiders thing. Okay. This is good. Okay, this is interesting. When NWA came out, the rap group came out. They kind of revitalized street fashion. So all of a sudden, any ball team that had a black colorway was popular. So the LA Kings were popular, and that's a hockey team. The Raiders. And there weren't a lot. Maybe the Jazz, no, the Spurs, I think, may have had a black background. And it just had to be black. It had nothing to do with the teams. The LA part was a little bit of about it. So then when Allen Iverson, who played for the Philly 76ers, brought hip hop into basketball, right? He was always getting in trouble because he had cornrow braids in his hair. And he actually would, after a game, would be at the press conference table wearing a Boston Red Sox hat. And people were like, yo, you play for the Sixers. This isn't even basketball. Take that off. He's like, nah, I just like the way it rocks. And he was like bucking these weird systems that people didn't seem to understand, but I got it. It's just, he's a fashion dude. Right. You wear stuff because it just you can rock with it the right way. It has nothing to do with team loyalty. So after that, and they invented a third jersey for basketball. You had your home jersey, your away jersey, right? If you're into sports at any stripe, and then there was a third alternate jersey that was black. So Iverson's reach in basketball was so big it changed fashion. And all of a sudden, every team had a black jersey. And that was the biggest selling item in all of the sports teams' catalogs, was anything that was black.
Wow. That is interesting, and I did not know. That's cool. This is why that's become my favorite question of this podcast, because we've learned such weird things and informative and things. So, like, I like to learn things every day. So that's cool.
Knowledge for knowledge's sake, man. I'm all about it.
Even my I don't know, you guys have seen me in real life enough. Like my white fisherman hat, I usually have on white sneakers that just balance that out.
Yeah, top to bottom. I get it now.
Yeah, it's important. This my white hat and this green shirt. I have my white Stan Smiths on the floor with the green stripe on the back. See, it's all laid out.
I thought we were going to talk just about comics, but we talked so much about breakfast and fashion that I like. No, I love it.
No, that's great. That's why we do these. So,
Oh no, I appreciate that, man. You know, I love talking about stuff that's kind of like off the beaten path. You know what I'm saying? Because we're also interesting in our own ways, and I think we share a lot of things that have nothing to do with comics in common.
Right. Yeah. I'm gonna let Mark wrap this up. Go for it.
If you were attacked by a bear,
Yes.
How would you defeat it?
Ooh. I have my answer, but we need to hear yours.
Yeah, I've got mine as well, but I think a lot about this particular one.
What kind of bear is it? Is it a black bear? Is it like a brown bear?
You know that much about bears that you're getting very bear specific.
Yeah, I think that weighs into my answer.
It's a grizzly bear.
Ooh, damn.
So they're just like big and ornery.
Big and mean. Right? Yeah, big and ornery.
I would probably put on. You ready for this? I'd probably put on my YouTube channel that has soothing dog calming music, and I would lull it into complacency.
All right.
Do you want to hear my answer?
I do want to hear your answer.
I just have to run faster than Mark.
I, on the other hand, am going to challenge it to a dance-off, which clearly I will win.
Yeah, I think if the bear lost its hat, it would just stop dancing.
I hope the three of us never run into an actual bear that's trying to eat any of us. It's going to be John Candy from Great Outdoors. Big bear, chase me.
That's awesome.
All right, man.
Do you have any questions for us at all before we go?
Yeah, I do have a question for you guys, and I hope it's not too deep. Both of you know that I both adore the both of you equally and separately.
But I would win. That's the answer to your question.
He probably would.
So, Franco, when I brag about you, because I brag about all my friends, I say one thing that is super cool about you is that you're super, super busy and you never act bigger than yourself, which I enjoy. Like, you're very approachable.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And also, I love that you guys have retail. Like, I think that's so smart. You know, I know you guys are going through your own problems with the pandemic and everything, but I think it's such a brilliant way to give back to the culture by, you know, kind of immersing yourself in a brick and mortar version of what you love anyway. So anyway, I just think both of you
and for the record, our stores are not going anywhere. We're making it. So.
All right, I knew that. I just had to.
We're hustling, but we're making it, and the support of our community and our customers has been fantastic. So they don't want to see us go anywhere either. So.
And I told the both of you that as soon as this Leon stuff lands, I'm going to do an book tour. We're going to hit all 3 shops.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So, but yeah, I love both of you, and thanks for having me on.
Oh,
I hope I filled the dead air well.
You did awesome, sir. This is for our Patreon. We don't hide any of the videos behind the paywall. We did it first. Decided they have to be out there. So well, these are for free, but if people like the content and they help out the store if they decide to donate to the Patreon. So thank you for taking the time and talking to us.
Oh yeah, man.
We appreciate
it. Thank you guys. And I hope to hang out with the both of you soon once all this blows over.
That's all.
That we'll make that happen.
All right, cool. All right, thanks guys. And remember, Whiz-wit.
Whiz-wit.
Whiz-wit. Awesome. Hold on. Jamar.
What? Yeah. Smooth.
Awesome, guys.
All right, have a good one. Thanks, guys.
Pretty easy, man.